3, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Can I get a roll call?
Malinali.
Yes.
Stephanie. Here. Bill.
Yep.
Rich.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Student board members Meadow.
Here.
And Kai.
All right, perfect. And our flag salute tonight is going to be led by Stephanie Ahmad.
I'm leading. I'm trying to find the flag. Oh, there it is. All right. This way and ready. Peek in.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay,
Those are way more patriotic.
all right. And I don't believe there's a report out on closed session.
There's not.
So we're going to move on to item 3.1. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Any adjustments? No, seeing none. We'll be moving on to item 3.2. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Anybody online? Okay. So since we do not have any comments, we're going to move on to our student board members, Meadow Graves and Kai.
All right, so we want to go over a few things that have happened. We had at Cali, there was a, I don't know what little thing where they, yes, a recorded concert where they had their whole group come up, and they also had people from the JC, or Sonoma State rather, thank you, come down and sing In the Heights with the people. With the students, which was very amazing. We had our winter formal, which was a great success. And then also, we talked about it a while ago, but I wanted to say it is now open. The Jaggy Cafe, I think is what it's called. And it's helping alleviate both lines for food. More people are getting it. Very good.
And then the bottom photos on the right are from a pancake decorating contest at the Spring Jam at North Bay Met. The Spring Jam is just a tradition they do to bring students closer after break. And then on the left side, the top left picture is from this morning at the groundbreaking event where the TK kids had their little shovels, and it was the cutest thing. And then the other two photos on the left are also from Cali, and it's the tree project they're working on. So on the tree, that is made of recycled paper bags, and in Spanish and English is like the roots of their school. And then on the leaves, which will someday be pinned to the tree, are pictures of the students that align themselves with those values. And it's really, the students are having a really good time. And like, I align with this, and this is like, they get to find their friends and their teachers and their siblings on the walls. And then on the right is just from some Christmas stuff at Windsor Middle School. They had door decorating, and they set up like a background and took photos together. Yeah, that's all of that.
All right. Are there any comments?
Yeah, great. Thank you guys and Happy New Year. Heather, I know you're well plugged in with the PD. Is there any way that we could particularly try and get that upper left-hand picture over to them?
I actually agreed with it.
Yeah, if we get like the cuteness coefficient this weekend.
So
No,
cute.
I took a bunch this morning too. I've sent it over. I don't know if they'll do anything with it, but I.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
And I just want to give kudos to our student board members for, you're out there, you're going to the sites. I really appreciate that, and giving us back feedback from the sites. I just wanted to shout you out for that.
By the way, what sorts of things do they sell at the Jaggy Cafe?
It's all the same food, except for just faster.
I
So
see. Oh, that's
both
great.
sides of our campus can get food, so nobody's like sprinting across campus.
Oh, that's fantastic. Such a big school that's so convenient.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Great job. Any other comments? No? All right. Then we do not have a superintendent's report, correct?
Not today.
Okay, so then we're going to move on to item 3.5, Staff Association reports.
We don't have one.
We don't have any?
No, not today.
Oh. Okay. So now moving on to 3.6. I like this meeting.
Wow.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
So item 3.6 is Board of Trustees report. Do we have any reports?
Well, seeing that there's an overabundance of spare time,
Oh, no.
I just want to report that this last week, Kevin, the head coach, I think I've told some of you, or maybe you guys know, but our wrestling coach, he just got promoted at the sheriff's department. So his schedule's kind of all over. So he got called in the last minute, so he couldn't take the kids over to Sonoma to the wrestling trip this weekend. So he asked me if I'd go. So I took the kids over. And the high point is that we won, took first. So that's our second tournament of the year that the kids have won. And the cool part was 6 of our best wrestlers weren't even there. They were up at another tournament in Sacramento with the other guys, and they were all doing really well. But with our half our varsity and then our JV kids, we still took first in Sonoma. Now, the cool part of this was, it's a little backstory that I'll be quick. Just one more thing. It's called the Dietz Memorial Tournament. Dietz Winslow was a kid, he's 2 years younger than I am, and he wrestled in high school, and I got to know him pretty well. And he, good in high school, graduated from high school. I was down in college, and I was gone. I saw him at a pizza parlor. So what are you doing? He goes, nah, nothing, just whatever. And I said, hey, you need to go down and wrestle in college, get back in college. He goes, nah, really don't want to. Went down to, talked him into it, went down to DVC where I went to junior college, and I started wrestling there, became an All-American in junior college, introduced him to his wife, that they had been married, had kids, and then Dietz ended up coming back up to Sonoma where his dad was coach, and then coached a long time. And when I started coaching over here at Windsor, we had some great battles, and in the early days, they kicked the snot out of us, but we ended up beating him eventually, but Dietz ended up passing away. He was an avid boater, and he was up at Lake Berryessa in one of those kind of fancy, super fast boats, and the boat went up, and they don't know exactly what happened. Anyhow, he passed away, and so they named a tournament after him. But when we won the whole North Coast Championships back in 2014, so all the coaches, we kind of hate each other during the season. And then a lot of us, we carry that on afterwards, the season 2. But Dietz and I, we were good friends, super competitive. But after you get out of the league tournament and you get to the section meet, our area, we all root for each other. We're rooting for our kids. We all want them to do really well. So anyhow, there was a match. There was about 5 pivotal matches when we won the whole section meet. We only won. We beat James Logan by 1.5 points. That's how close it was. And Dietz was standing behind us watching our match. And one of our good guys, Joe Valdez, a call went the wrong way, and I didn't catch it. And Dietz was back there, and he kind of goes, Rich, and he caught my attention. I looked around, and I knew, as soon as he started saying, I knew exactly what he was talking about, and I missed it. Anyhow, that ended up being a 2.5 point difference in our match. And so there was a magical time that day. I should write a book of all the little things that happened that all added up to a couple points here, there, and wherever where we won it. But anyhow, I just want to take this minute or 2 or 3 and just kind of, once again, bring a little thanks and appreciation to Dietz, the contribution he made to our sport, the fact that they have a memorial tournament is awesome, and then the fact that we were able to win it again. We hadn't been back there for some years. It was kind of cool, and his son was there to kind of accept the thing for the family. And so it was just kind of a cool thing. And so our kids are representing us really well out there, and it was fun to be around them and what have you. And, being retired away from it and kind of coming back and forth a little bit here and there to help out, it's kind of cool. So anyhow, we're doing good. And then lastly, tomorrow, we have the Prince of the Mat tournament at Windsor High School in the afternoon for the junior varsity kids. Go late, setting up for King of the Mat, which is on Saturday. We have 35 or 37 teams coming from Oregon, Nevada, and all over California. It's going to be a pretty good tournament. And we have quite a few kids that are out right now kind of nursing everything. And but we should be getting ready for the big dual meet next Wednesday with Carl Newman and Maria Carrillo. So, there you go. Oh, and, no, just kidding.
Any other reports?
I'm going to do that forever.
I was, before this meeting was over with the district's strategic arts planning group. Pleased that that's kicked off robustly into the new year for the board's planning. It's anticipated that a draft will come to our board on the 15th for review, suggestions, and comments, with ideally a final version with some implementation timelines at our meeting on March 14th. So that is really good. Thank you, Brian and Elizabeth Robertson and the crew who are working hard on that.
So, will she be here to do a report out on that?
I believe she will be here at both those meetings. It's likely.
Okay, great.
Good.
Fantastic. Anything else?
I have one.
Oh, great.
I attended the first coffee with a board member or two, but it was only one because it was me. I know we've had a bit of an issue getting these meetings set up, but I really, although this is more for the principals, I really want to encourage them to encourage their staff to embrace this. It was a great opportunity for certificated and classified, anybody who want on that campus who wanted to come and talk with the board members, it was a great time, and it's an informal setting. It's low key. Yes, they had issues, and I wrote them down. I brought my white pad here and was writing down all the things. So it's a great place for them to feel like we're not just these people who sit up here once a month and do this, that we're actually, they're visible on campus for them. So I encourage, I don't know where we are in the process of setting more up for January, but it's
Probably won't get any done in January.
maybe
but
February, for sure. I think it's really valuable. And I think it would be even better if there would have been another board member than just myself there, because maybe I couldn't answer all the questions, maybe with your expertise you would have. And it's good to have two to bounce ideas off of. So that's my report.
Okay, thank you for doing that. So I just want to report out that this month is School Board Appreciation Month. So I just want to say thank you to Jen for bringing us cupcakes and little treats, and for Jeremy for reminding us that it's this month.
I did not think. You just thank Jen. Yeah, I get no credit here.
He
And
allows me to do it.
That's right.
And in my research, I found out there's more than 5,000 school district and county office of education board members. So there's a lot of us doing a lot of, hard work. So with that, I just want to also acknowledge, some of you, especially, Rich and Stephanie and Jeremy, who have really, I feel, given me so much good advice over the years about, being a good board member. So thank you for your support. Is there anything else that anybody else wants to say about Board Member Appreciation Month? We also have our 2 student board members who work so hard all the time, making sure that everyone feels included and engaged. So I do, take notice of all your hard work.
I just want to say thank you to all of you, because we do like a fish out of water about you guys. Most of the time I still don't fully know what I'm doing, but I would definitely not know what I'm doing at all if it wasn't for you guys, especially Jen. Anytime I have any question, and Jen always lets me know that no question is too dumb, and it really helps me out.
Well,
You did a great job.
you guys have helped us out quite a bit, getting things passed and getting actual action happening.
All right, any other comments on that? No? Okay, then I think we're gonna move on to the next item. So 3.7 is approval of minutes from December 14th. Do we do a motion for that? Yeah, do we have a motion for that?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
And Paul. Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you. All right. So moving on to item 4.1.
3 positions.
3.1.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. I think that's also for my opinion. Oh, no, here it is.
3.
Employee recognitions by Pete Sullivan.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So this is kind of a momentous occasion because we're around the horn. We're back to our first staff. We recognized North Bay Met. We were our first staff members that we recognized in this with our staff recognitions, and we're going to recognize them again. So today, our two Staff members to be recognized are Tara Falkenberg for certificated, and classified is Macias Dos Santos. Notes from North Bay Met. Tara Falkenberg, a second-year intern, is lovingly referred to colleagues as the Golden Child. This nickname arose due to Tara's dedication to her students and craft, and it seems like she can do no wrong. She is a warm demander who is always over-prepared in the best way possible to support, engage, and challenge her students. The environment of her classroom is inviting, and she has built strong relationships with her students that allows them to feel safe in taking academic risks. Tara is a thoughtful colleague and always contributes to meetings with insight and optimism. We are glad Tara chose North Bay Med Academy, and we enjoy working with her immensely. Tara. And then classified, Macias Dos Santos. Macias Dos Santos has been the sole campus supervisor for North Bay Med Academy for many years. His caring and dedication to our students is evident daily. He arrives early to open his room for students arriving before the bell, and throughout the day, he welcomes all students who need a space to get work done. Macias supports students and helps them stay on task. He monitors the campus vigilantly and handles all issues with students. Macias builds relationships with students. There are very few issues. When we have safety drills and unplanned evacuations, Macias ensures all goes smoothly and according to protocols. His presence and contributions to the safety of our site will be missed next year. And we will join North Bay Met at their first staff meeting in February, and I'll get those dates to you. I have not forgotten that we still need to go visit Maddie Washburn. That was delayed, so we have that to be scheduled as well. And we also have the transportation, maintenance, and tech, which is also being scheduled. Those are to come. You're right. Yep. I was about to.
Are there any comments on this item?
You know, to consent action. Yes, consent action items, which is mine. Slacking off for a moment. So we have item 4.1 through 4.8. Do we have any recusals, or do we need to pull any items? We can consider them all at once. Okay, is there, I'll entertain a motion, and then we can have discussion if there's discussion. Can I have a motion?
I'll entertain a motion.
Do you make a motion? Okay, great. So Paul makes a motion. Any discussion on any of these items? Seeing none. Do I have a second? Who's all second? All right, Rich will second. And we can have a roll.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Opposed? Abstentions? No. All right, so that was up to 14. Okay, great. So now we're moving on to item 5.1, consideration of acceptance of the 2022-2023 audit report. This item will be presented by Mr. White.
So this is Sarah Palafox from Christie White.
Oh, okay.
Used to presenting with the podium, so you'll, excuse me for being
Feel free to sit down if you'd like.
No, this is fine. Well, it's my pleasure to be here this evening to present the audit report for the year ended June 30, 2023. If anybody would like to follow along with the audit report, there are some pages that I'll be highlighting. So page 80 of the audit report is the summary of auditor's results. This is a very useful page to refer to when reviewing the audit report. It presents all of the opinions that we are issuing for the district. And we issued 3 opinions, one of which is the financial statement opinion, and we issued an unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses. However, there was a significant deficiency that I'll describe in the audit findings. For federal awards, we tested for major programs, we tested the special education cluster and the education stabilization fund discretionary grants. Those are the ESSER and GEAR funds that the district received. And after testing those programs, we issued an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion that can be issued. We noted no material weaknesses nor significant deficiencies. And our last opinion that we issued was over state awards or state compliance. And we again issued an unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses. There's a lower level and no significant deficiencies. And there's now a lower level of findings. So with state awards, if a finding is not a material weakness nor a significant deficiency, but is required to be reported because it's an element of the state audit guide, there's kind of a new level that we report on. And so you'll see that there were audit findings reported as they were deficiencies from the K through 12 state audit guide. And next I'll go into the audit findings that we issued. This is on page 81 of the audit report. Over financial statements, we issued one opinion, which is titled Financial Reporting. And we noted transactions in our testing of the unaudited actuals that didn't include required closing entries. So there were some closing entries that were not included in the unaudited actuals. We noted those items, and you'll see them noted here under statement of accounts payable, associated student body activity not posted for the year, and understatement of a resource and fair market value adjustment for cash and county treasury not posted. And you will note that adjusting entries were agreed upon with the district and were posted in the audited financial statement. So the balances have been corrected for those items noted. And the district's corrective action is that the district will incorporate a process at year end that involves a thorough review of the adopted state budget to identify additional resources and grants that need to be adjusted and following other year-end closing procedures. On the following page, page 82, this is where we would present any federal award findings, and you'll see that there were no findings presented for federal compliance. And one finding was noted over state awards, and this was related to the instructional materials public hearing. And it's a requirement that the public hearing is held on or before the 8th week of school. And you'll see in the condition, this describes what occurred with the finding, and the district did not hold a public hearing for instructional materials on or before the 8th week of school. And the corrective action is that the district will be kind of using a board calendar that will note some of these required hearings that need to be held at a certain time. And on the final page of the audit report, you'll see the orientation shifts just a little bit to show that this is a prior year finding. So we are required to report on prior year findings and if they've been corrected in the year that we are auditing. So for the year ended June 30, 2022, there was one audit finding related to the comprehensive school safety plans. And in our testing that year, we noted that the plans were not approved. Prior to the March 1st deadline, they were approved just a few days later on March 10th. And you'll see at the very end of this summary of prior year audit findings, there's a note for current status. And we've noted that the corrective action has been implemented and the prior year finding is not continuing in the year ended June 30, 2023. And so to conclude my brief presentation, we do want to extend our thanks to the district for their assistance in the audit process. I have the pleasure of working on the audit both remotely with my team, and I live fairly locally, so I come and visit the district and work with the staff. And so we appreciate their assistance in preparing for the audit, utilizing our portal that we use, and then also preparing for my in-person visit. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Are there any questions or comments?
Was that last item you covered that other audit findings from the state awards? You had indicated if it wasn't material or a significant deficiency, there was an enumerated list somewhere.
Yes, that is finding number 2023-002, the instructional material finding.
Okay.
That is the finding that I noted is not a material weakness nor a significant deficiency, but it is an element of the state audit guide that wasn't followed.
Okay. Shifting over here, I know we have that 2 or 3 page comprehensive statutory calendar thing that hangs out at the end of our
Yes.
agendas. Have we dealt with that?
Would-
So we don't miss it.
Yes, oh, I got you, you mean his
Correct.
processes.
So so like our corrective action for that was basically make sure that gets on that calendar and then make sure that we're following it.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. Another good audit.
Thank you. All right, so up next is Austin with item 5.2.
Yeah, so this is,
Did we accept this? Did we already? Did we take action? No, we did. We have to accept the audit.
Oh, we have to accept the audit? Oh, okay. Can I entertain a motion to accept the audit? At 5.1, thank you. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Is that Paul? Oh, Rich.
Short one.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yep. Abstain? Okay. So that passes. So now we're moving on to item 5.2, which is Austin, consideration of approval of resolution number 2024-13.
yeah, so this is kind of carrying over from oh, sorry, Heather. Bye, Sarah. You're welcome. This is kind of carrying over from 2022. We had in September of 2022 committed funds in our fund balance for specific items. These specific items were early TK implementation, Windsor Extended Learning Lab, which is our before and after school care program. And then it was also for the possibility of future TK facilities as we were applying for grants and not sure what was going to come down the pipeline. So while we were doing this, we knew that early TK implementation was going to be a big risk depending on what was going to happen with the preschool program at the time. Now we know that we have gotten all the preschool funds and more. So we're good decommitting the funds in our fund balance for that purpose and freeing them up for other things.
At the time, we had applied for the preschool grant, but we didn't know if we were going to get it or not.
Correct. And then the second one was the Windsor Extended Learning Lab. Again, at the time, there was so much going on at the state level. We didn't know what funding looked like for that. And so we were having to fund this huge department with a lot of risk and not being certain of what funding was at the time. And so now, 2 years later, we feel confident where we're at and we'd like to decommit those funds and use them for other things. And then looking at future TK facilities, we now know that project is fully funded and we don't need to commit those funds for those purposes. So with that being said, this is a resolution that would decommit those 3 pots of money.
Okay, and Austin, what is that Windsor Extended Learning Lab?
That's our before.
It's
Yeah. So it's the before and after school program at Brooks, Maddie, Callie.
Okay, that appears that there's a question.
So I saw a nice attaboy in the paper about the budget that Windsor was well ahead on TK when we took the plunge doing this.
Oh yeah.
At a risk, right?
Yeah.
And it worked out. But I also saw in there that there was potential deferrals and the other shenanigans that could come out of Sacramento and CTE. Where are we in any level of maintenance funding we expect from the state to sustain these programs that we started early? And do you see any risk if there are deferrals or some sort of carve out for some of those funds that we would now need as we have the program up and running?
Yeah, I think as we kind of talk about TK facilities and not just at Cali, but at other sites, we were just in Sacramento yesterday and the discussion of deferrals happened, but it was that they weren't going to happen.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, a lot can change in May, so we don't know.
And there's a disagreement on the deficit. Governor says it's 38 billion.
LAO
LAO
says
says 68, and then LAO's revised that to 58 billion.
Yeah.
So there's still a $20 billion difference in terms of their opinion. But right now, no defaults.
Yeah. So for right now, no deferrals. But there was a piece of the proposal that extended funding certain TK facilities into the and just holding them off basically.
Going back, so the governor is going to implement early. He was going to give us the funds for TK facilities earlier than his initial budget had projected. But he backed off of that because of what's going on. So now it's just back to, I think it's 2 years from now,
Correct.
where those funds potentially become available to us, which is hard because we need TK facilities now. But we're being creative in how we get there.
Is that the hard date 2 years from now?
I can't remember.
Or-
Rich, I think it is.
Oh,
I don't know.
budget time. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just know that I know he moved it up because he had the money, thought he did. Now he's just pushed it back. So I don't know what the date is.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm sorry, unless there's any other comments or questions? Any comments from the public? No?
And
And
then-
we need a resolution?
Yeah, a roll call. One thing to note too is that this would start in 24-25 for following school year.
And it's already built in too.
And it's already built in as well. It's built in your most recent budget,
The shift back.
the
out of-
decommitment.
The decommitment.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Okay.
So need a motion?
So we need a motion. Does anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
You need to do a roll
Oh,
call.
just a roll call. Okay. Thank you.
Malinawi,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Ned,
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so now we're moving on to item 5.3, which is consideration of discussion of potential senior and junior student board members in future years. And this item is going to be introduced by Superintendent Tucker.
Mostly I'm going to kick it to you. So this was just a concept brought forward by Malinawi. This has been successful, having 2 board members, and we've learned that it's really hard to get up to speed. And so maybe there's an idea of somebody training underneath the senior board member and then kind of the flow.
Yes, and actually I wanted this item on our agenda because I wanted to hear from our student board members about their experiences and, why you wanted to make this recommendation.
Yeah, I think our student board trustee position has changed a lot this year. Certainly with the introduction of 2 people and with Meadow being at North Bay Met, it opens up a lot more understanding of what's happening at our school sites. We also hope to do more and to continue to do more into the future. We want to make sure the next people are as prepared as possible. So if there's anything that comes up, they are able to handle it and they can continue forward. And so they're not just figuring out what we figured out this year. And hopefully then the goal is that we can introduce them to different principles and to what we're doing in a really legitimate way so that they can get on it in the first semester before we even had the ideas of doing the things we're doing now. So really making sure that we're ready and they're ready.
So the idea really is to have a junior and a senior, so
Yeah.
there's more time to learn
Yeah.
as a junior, moving into the position.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to say anything?
No, kind of like just what you were kind of saying, because I think Bill mentioned it in the conference. Because if there was a junior and a senior, then the next year that junior would be the senior. And you could re-elect that student if they felt that they were still interested, and if you felt that they were fit for the position, and they could basically mentor that junior and it could stay like that. And that would be awesome because I would be stuck and I'd be like a headless chicken if I didn't have another person to fail with on all these things. And it would be so much harder, like not just to be able to figure things out, but
No, that's not.
because I would mess up a lot more if I didn't have another person's perspective as well. And it would also just, the fact that there's another person's perspective, because I get so tunnel vision on certain things.
And another peer that you're, age.
Yeah, and it is really nice, and you can't necessarily talk about the board stuff with another student at school because they're confidential things.
Right.
So I think that too is nice.
So I also wanted this item on the agenda, for more board discussion to see what input you all have on this, because we've talked about this over the years and it's kind of changed a little bit over the years. So I just want to see what comments and insight you all have.
I have a question. I just am interested in what other people think too. Is like, I know when we were making the decision to bring on 2 student board members, this time, part of the decision making, I know this has been part of the decision making in the past, is if you have juniors applying, you have seniors applying, you see, maybe like when we only had 1 person, we couldn't pick everyone who wanted to do it, but if we saw that someone applied the next year, we might say, okay, well, they're a senior now. This is their last opportunity to do this. And both of you are seniors this year. So I think that was definitely a factor with these 2 people. This is going to be their last opportunity. So, and these are the strongest candidates. Do you see this as being strictly junior, senior, or do you see there being a little bit more flexibility? Like, is this a process that we will end up not being able to have someone come on who it is their senior year and they have expressed interest before, potentially, but we really want to streamline it and start this senior, junior process. Like, I'm just curious what you think about that and how you look at it.
I don't think 2 seniors again would be a bad thing.
Okay.
It would just be like starting off, it was a little rough.
Mhm.
But I also think that
Yeah.
with like, how do I say this? Like,
Let's see what I would say.
I was with your direction.
I just want to ensure that they had a bit more direction
Yeah.
from us before they jump into the position.
Right.
Then we were necessarily maybe given.
I was gonna ask you about that. Did you both have the chance to meet with the previous student board member at all?
Yeah, I was,
A little bit.
I worked very well. Me and Jackson talked a lot, we were friends before, and I applied again my sophomore year, I guess, to be for my junior year. But I think it's the advancement of the position this year that really matters, because before, there was nothing for him to tell us. It was make a presentation, go to some events, take photos, and like, maybe try to listen and learn something. But hopefully this year, we're changing it. And also, I would like to comment on what Stephanie was asking about. The other student trustees across the state, there are some who are freshmen. I think there's one who's freshman. There's a couple who are sophomores, juniors, seniors. The goal, I think, should be always to get the person who's most interested, because it doesn't really matter if you don't want to be here. So I think any way we can continue to have that, just ensuring that if we do have 2 seniors, there's a way for them to get the information to the next generation. That's really what matters.
Do you have any ideas about that? About as far as, getting the information to the next person? Like, do you think that that's what's needed is a combination of it coming from you and also us? Or, just more time to prep the person before you meet? What do you think?
My goal, hopefully, I don't know, but I think I'll talk about this a little bit, is making some way for us to prepare the new student trustee and making guides and certain resources that can help you, and making sure that they understand certain things and connecting them with the other school board trustees. As I said, this year, talking to you guys has been very helpful. That's what's pushed us over the edge, I think, in certain realms that we understand what's happening.
I have a Google Doc and it's like, this is the school, this is the principal, this is the secretary, this is like the, students. And it's all like, so that they have the email, they have the school's phone number and everything.
Can we get that too?
Because if you go online, all the teachers are alphabetized, but it doesn't tell you what they are and it freaks me out. So
Yeah,
I
actually, as a whole board, we could. That would
could
be a
use
nice
your
resource to have.
What's your timeframe? When do we elect the new board, student board members? Because if you push that back a little bit, you have time to get them up to speed.
No, I think Mara and I talked about this a little bit, but hopefully the goal is this year, I don't know if we are feasibly capable of doing it, but electing somebody sooner. And also, I'm happy, and I'm sure Meta is as well, to do more outreach about the position. So it's not just Jackson telling me, apply to this. It's
It
not just
happens late
one
in spring,
person.
right?
Yeah, I think it did.
Maybe usually when we appoint.
So,
Yeah.
But we do a process, the process leads up to
Yeah.
that.
I've got a little bit of a contrarian type of a thought on this. One is, I think all of us board members can all appreciate the anxiety that you get when you first get on. Oh, crap, what do I do now? Then it's, oh, I sure hope I don't say something stupid. Well, at least I know that has been a thought of mine. Oh, I hope I don't cuss. That used to be one. There's all these thoughts. Do I have the agenda? Oh man, I gotta really, I really go over the agenda and read everything, because I don't want someone to come up and go, hey, this subject, and they ask a question, and I, for whatever reason, didn't read it well, didn't know it. I feel like we have a responsibility, and I think everybody's done a really good job of that. I don't want to, and I know our first year, every one of us felt inadequate, pretty much. And that we didn't know things and we were gonna learn a little bit more and more and more. I kind of don't want to remove that from the student board members. I want you guys to leave being a student board member a little hungry, meaning man, just when I thought I had it, my term is over. Because I'm hoping that that's going to perpetuate you guys down the road, leave that little hunger in you as you go and do whatever you're going to do in life, to where down the road, you might be in your community and you're going like, I was a school board trustee as a student and I kind of got it, I liked it, and I was just starting to get to where I thought I knew what I was doing, and it was gone. And you might have that hunger to then serve again as a trustee. So I don't want to remove that hunger from you of wanting to do more down the road, and I think that it's there. My other concern is, I don't have a problem with junior and senior, but this is meant to, in my mind, to give y'all a little taste, right? And if we have somebody who's a junior and then they're a senior, we just gave 2 people a taste over 2 years instead of 4 people a taste over 2 years. My solution to that would be that we stayed with 1-year terms. If you're a junior, you can always reapply again. But to Paul's comment, if we could set it up to where the people that are applying, they would apply, let's say in October, interviews, blah, 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 and then they know that they're going to be the board trustee the following year, they're welcome now to, for 4 months, 6 months, whatever, come to the board meetings, observe, look at the menu, not the menu, but the agenda, talk to you folks, and they can use their own diligence and I don't even know what the right word would be, but their efforts to try and be as caught up or up to speed as they can before they serve. I'm really leery of locking this position up to 2 people over a 2-year period when we could have 4 people have that experience. That's my biggest concern, and I think we can alleviate that by letting the new person be involved before they actually serve, or before they're on the board, if that makes sense. So these are just, I'm okay either way, but I think that gives more opportunities. And again, the last thing is, I want you guys to, Meadow, you went from super quiet to where you're like smacking me in the head all the time, which is awesome. So you've come out of your shell, and but I hope you guys stay hungry, because we've all seen it. I mean, there are fewer and fewer and fewer people serving in the public, right? Because most people that serve in the public get smacked around. This is one volunteer, and they always get beat up. So you guys staying hungry, developing a little bit of I can do this when you guys get a little bit older and your careers are more established and stuff. I'm hoping you guys get back into public service again. So, whereas if you've been on here for a while, sometimes the tendency is, I did my time, I'm done, right? So, those are just kind of unorganized thoughts.
I like the idea of giving more opportunities to people. I mean, that is something that I do care a lot about, and if we did have 2-year terms, it would take away half of the opportunities. So, and I'm comfortable with discomfort among our students, because this is a safe space that we try to create for you guys. Like, we don't expect you to know everything right at the beginning. So it's okay to be uncomfortable too. But I'm interested on kind of the flip side of that. Are there any downsides to not having a 2-year term? Like, is there something that could be happening that's not happening that we should be aware of?
Could I interject?
Yeah.
We're not eligible to appoint 2-year terms. These are statutory 1-year terms.
Okay.
So as I recall, when it was talked about down in San Francisco, part of the objective was, can you get to where there's continuity in programs that they start? So I think having 2 is good. I think we pick the most complementary for where the district is going, but I would like to have us lean towards a junior and a senior. So there is the possibility that you could get a second year should that person choose to be appointed, and there's some kind of continuity. But to start now.
So you can reapply.
Let's
You
start
can,
early.
yeah, they could be the trustee for all 4 years, but they just do it in 4-year terms while they're in high school.
I see.
So, but I do think it should start now.
So
Yeah,
just
so
make
hold
sure,
up,
so
hold
you
up.
can do 2, it's just you have to do it 1 year at a time.
You cannot be appointed as a student trustee for more than a 1-year term. or more than 1 year.
I think Bella was gonna say something.
Yeah, I'd say like what Stephanie said about like the downside is I'm getting really excited about the interviews we're working on. And because we had somewhat of a rough start, like we're just now starting to fully launch it. And so Kai and I won't get to see the full cycle of it. We'll just get to see the full cycle of them being built. And so like that for me is really sad because I've put a lot into these. Like I'll email the principals, like go into the schools and meet with the principals and be like, how do you think your students will receive this? And like, I get to meet with students and talk to the students and I'm getting to actually know our district. And it would just be really exciting to see that grow. But it's also like Rich was saying, it makes you want it more. But then if there was like a big project and if a student applied as a junior and they started this big project, it would be hard on another student to just have to pick it up. So I think that if there was like, if something happened like next year or a year down the road where this giant project started and there were 2 student trustees and one was a junior, I'd say maybe re-elect. But if there were 2 perfect seniors for this position for next year, I'd say pick those 2 seniors.
So it sounds to me, unless there's other comments, but it sounds to me like we have consensus because part of it is you're saying we're legally bound to only have 1-year terms.
Yes.
And it sounds like we're comfortable if we have 2 people that could be either a junior and a senior or a senior and a senior, right? And if it's a junior, if they like it and they do well, they can always reapply again if they want to do it again. So it sounds to me like that's the consensus.
And I would add that we start early. In the past, we've done it like April or May, and it's around June, school's out. We could start now. I think we really get with Jen and Danielle over at high school, and I know Ms. Whiteley as the leadership, person help with that. But to start now to say, maybe start talking to people so in March we can be talking to them, and in April and May they know. Right, so that they can get as much turnover as possible.
And who's the person that does the outreach for this?
Talk about it, if we can.
You do, okay.
And then we
Because
have
maybe next year,
the ones that we track.
maybe next year, you could start like talking about it in December and like really highlight it right as we come back to the meeting. Okay, because that would have been amazing for at least me. Because honestly, I applied not fully knowing what I was applying for. Walking into that room with all of you guys at that table was so scary.
You did great.
You did really good.
And so like, I think the student having to kind of like, what does a student board member do? Because I was telling you guys what I would do and I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing. And so then they could learn, and then like things like these and our CSBA packets and the student who gets elected could have all of those. Okay, these are the exact kind of documents. You would have physical copies of graphics and stuff like that. And they have the whole year to go over it, so it's not just like, okay, school ended, maybe I have summer school, or maybe I have GC classes, and I have all this stuff to look at. It's like, okay, gradually.
So for this year, what are we on board to do as far as outreach? When would that start for this semester?
I mean, really, we did this towards the end of the year. It was to prepare for the following year. So this wasn't really how we ran things. So we can start as early as we need to. It's not a difficult thing to put out the notice. We had to bill.
I could do the outreach next week.
Okay,
We could plan to say interview early March.
Okay.
It's not a
Make a
hard thing.
decision by mid-March, and then, like you say, they've got the May and June
Okay.
board meetings, and they can do if they want to.
I can't remember, but how, do all other districts have student trustees, or are we the only one in the county, just San Jose?
No, we're not the only one in the county.
Oh, it does not.
There are plenty that do, but
That's what I was thinking, I should get.
I would say, because we had invited Bonnie's leadership when the murder happened last year, because they did not have a receptive voice in San Jose City Schools. I forget what they said at that one presentation we went to when you were on the panel. I think well less than half of school boards have student trustees.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's the exception rather than the rule,
I
unfortunately.
thought so, I just wasn't sure.
Also, the students who are on the board don't even, some of them didn't know that they had a preferential vote. And it was just different, at least than the others.
Okay, so yeah, so it sounds like we've come to a consensus and we agree on this process. It's just gonna start early and then hopefully for the next round, we'll start even earlier, so in December, as you were suggesting. So,
I think that's a great idea.
okay, yeah, great. Yeah, thank you so much for your, all your input.
And then I do have a comment. If we're putting them out in early May, would the interviews be in early May? I mean,
Not May.
Early March?
It
Takes about a month.
Yeah.
Takes about a month.
We have to give people time to look into it and then, decide whether they want to apply and then the applicants.
I think we pushed it up just a little bit more next year to where we were like, hey, everybody, over the holiday season, be thinking, you might want to run for
Do it in
the
December.
January.
Yeah.
And we moved it up, like initially, when we used to do this, it was like, we'd be interviewing in June, right?
Yeah.
It was terrible timing, so we pushed it up so there could be some overlap,
Got
but
it.
we can push it up further so they can be overlap and learn.
Yeah, that was
Great.
the part.
All right,
I'll do the reach on it.
okay, thank
Okay, we
you.
should also
All
have,
right, thank you.
this trustees,
One more.
we're also helpful in outreach in different classes. Obviously, I'm at the high school, I can mention with AP leadership and all the other courses that I have, so hopefully we'll be able to get into classes. and talk about it.
Yeah, maybe get on like the bulletin.
Yeah,
do the video.
Yeah, no, I forgot about it.
I feel that because you guys are sitting here, Rich, you keep saying one more comment, one more
That's
comment.
true.
Like good news.
Right.
All right, so I think that really concludes that item, right? All right, so we're moving on to my favorite item, which is item 6.1, future board meeting items. So do we have any future board meeting items?
You said you did. So you could.
Really?
Say that to them.
No future board meeting items, Rich?
Yeah.
You opened so close right now, it's kinda.
And just so you guys know, how we approved our governance calendar. We talked through that. So we're going to start implementing that in February. So, because it's really kind of built to start at the beginning of the year, improved it kind of middle of the year, so it's a little wonky. But looking at it, we think we can start to hit those presentations start February.
Do we have any issues you want to take a deeper dive in before the end of the year about, that would maybe be a workshop topic session?
Let me think on it, Bill. I mean, I'm sure there are, but there's always, workshops are always helpful. So let me think through and maybe I'll work with Molinali and just the whole board to figure out what's the best thing to have our conversation centered around.
Okay, I just wanted to ask a question also in our next meeting. Do we already have it on our agenda that we're gonna get everything put out on the ballot? Is that on there already?
No, they wouldn't be on
I
yet.
think you were suggesting that, right?
Yeah, I think February 15th and March 14th, we want to have
A
report received with direction on the 14th, and then ideally, Brian works together with his team, and we see pretty much a firm version of a plan in March.
It all makes sense.
So that it seems to me, weaving that piece into the LCAP, having the budget adjustment, and the things that, there's personnel, there's the Prop 28 money that's going to start to come. That's why having some decisions and directions made by us in March would be very helpful in the remaining few months of the year.
It really
Right.
kind of required 80% of those funds have to be spent on personnel. So
Right. Right.
It fits what February, March really.
Okay.
around.
Perfect.
Cool.
So
Yeah, so we should
I
know
think that's it
Yeah.
because there's been no comments, so I
We
can't
got to go 3
believe-
more minutes, it's before 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I can't believe.
Would you like
that
to filibuster, who
7.1
wants to talk?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
trying to.
We're trying to
Bill
delay,
doesn't want you to
but
break
we're
his
gonna go to
record.
7.1. So our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Let it be this.
I know.